You're listening to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, created to help you succeed in your educational journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional prepcasts, books, and training materials await. Let's get started. Cross-skilling begins with the idea of shaping teams around generalizing specialist individuals who combine depth in one or more areas with enough breadth to collaborate across domains. Rather than building organizations where each person fits into a narrow slot, cross-skilling creates flexibility and shared ownership. This design choice improves flow because work is less likely to stall at single-skill bottlenecks. It enhances resilience by spreading critical knowledge more widely across the team, lowering the risk that delivery will be disrupted by absences or turnover. Cross-skilling also strengthens culture because when people understand a bit of each other's disciplines, they can empathize, communicate more effectively, and make better trade-offs. Instead of silos, the team operates as an integrated system. By deliberately developing both depth and breadth, organizations encourage adaptability, reduce fragility, and support healthier collaboration that sustains value even in turbulent conditions. A generalizing specialist is often described using the image of a T. The vertical stroke of the T represents deep expertise in one or more areas, such as testing, coding, or systems administration. The horizontal stroke reflects useful breadth proficiency in neighboring disciplines that enables contribution and collaboration outside a narrow specialty. This blend allows individuals to be versatile without being shallow. For example, a developer with strong coding skills who also understands testing and deployment can participate meaningfully across the delivery cycle. This doesn't diminish the value of deep experts. Rather, it balances focus with flexibility. The T-shaped model ensures that teams do not collapse into generalists without mastery, nor into specialists isolated from one another. By cultivating generalizing specialists, organizations create a workforce that adapts fluidly, covers for each other when priorities shift, and sustains high-quality outcomes across the system. One of the immediate benefits of cross-skilling is smoother flow. In rigidly specialized teams, work often waits in queues for the next available expert, leading to unpredictable cycle times. Broader capability reduces these bottlenecks because more people can step in when demand spikes. For example, if testing tasks pile up, a developer with cross-skilling in quality assurance can assist, keeping the flow moving. This stabilizes throughput and makes delivery more predictable, which in turn improves stakeholder confidence. It also enhances the team's ability to pivot when priorities shift, since capacity can be reallocated without waiting for scarce skills. Flow benefits are not just about speed, they are about reducing variability and ensuring consistent progress. By training team members to share responsibilities, organizations reduce dependence on specific individuals and create systems where progress continues, even when unexpected changes or absences occur. Cross-skilling also improves quality and resilience by reducing handoffs and fostering shared ownership. In traditional setups, work moves between narrowly defined specialists, creating opportunities for context loss and miscommunication. When individuals possess broader skills, they can carry tasks further along the delivery pipeline, minimizing these handoffs. Shared context means fewer gaps where defects can slip through unnoticed. For instance, a developer with testing skills is more likely to catch issues early, rather than leaving them for another team down the line. Additionally, when teams collectively steward code or artifacts, defects are more readily detected and corrected because multiple perspectives converge. This redundancy strengthens resilience, ensuring that errors do not go unnoticed and that quality is not dependent on a single reviewer or specialist. The result is a healthier system where defects are discovered earlier, corrected faster, and less likely to accumulate into costly failures. Coverage and continuity represent another important advantage of cultivating generalizing specialists. In teams where only one person understands a critical area, vacations, illnesses, or sudden departures can halt delivery. Cross-skilling lowers this bus factor risk by ensuring that multiple people can handle essential responsibilities. For example, if the sole database expert is unavailable, A colleague with cross-trained knowledge can manage urgent queries or fixes. This continuity also applies during incidents, when rapid response is crucial. Instead of waiting for the designated expert, others can step in to stabilize the situation. By distributing knowledge, teams avoid the fragility of hero-dependent models and ensure that delivery remains steady regardless of personnel changes. This approach not only protects productivity, but also creates healthier work-life balance, since no one individual carries an unsustainable load of responsibility or pressure to always be available. Cross-skilling deepens empathy and collaboration by helping people understand the perspectives of neighboring disciplines. When a developer learns the basics of user experience design, or a tester gains insight into deployment pipelines, they gain appreciation for the trade-offs others must navigate. This understanding reduces siloed decision-making that often leads to rework. For example, a developer who understands testing constraints may write more testable code, reducing downstream friction. Empathy born from cross-skilling also fosters better conversations. Instead of arguing from entrenched positions, team members can acknowledge the validity of multiple viewpoints and negotiate trade-offs more constructively. This relational benefit is as important as the technical one, because collaboration drives the quality of outcomes. By broadening knowledge across disciplines, cross-skilling creates a team environment where cooperation is natural, decisions are better informed, and the likelihood of rework or conflict is significantly reduced. It is important to recognize that breadth without depth carries risks. Shallow cross-skilling can lead to overconfidence and compromised quality if not paired with proper guardrails. Organizations mitigate this risk by maintaining standards, reviews, and coaching structures that ensure quality remains high while breadth grows. For example, a developer new to testing might contribute test cases but still have their work reviewed by an experienced tester. Similarly, coding contributions from someone outside their primary discipline may require extra scrutiny until competence is proven. Guardrails make cross-skilling safe, preventing it from eroding the excellence of deep expertise. By combining opportunities for breadth with structured oversight, teams can expand capability responsibly. This balance allows people to explore and grow in adjacent areas without exposing the system to unnecessary risk, reinforcing the idea that cross-skilling must be both encouraged and carefully guided. Psychological safety plays a critical role in making cross-skilling successful. People are unlikely to attempt new tasks, ask questions, or expose their lack of knowledge if they fear embarrassment or punishment. Safe environments encourage novices to pair with experts, experiment with new responsibilities, and learn through practice. For example, a developer might shadow an operations teammate during an incident, asking questions openly without fear of judgment. Over time, this confidence accelerates skill growth and creates a culture of continuous learning. Leaders and experienced team members are instrumental here, modeling patience, celebrating progress, and framing mistakes as opportunities to learn. Without psychological safety, cross-skilling efforts remain superficial, as individuals retreat to their comfort zones. With it, they feel empowered to expand their abilities, making the team more flexible, resilient, and collaborative. Establishing a baseline of skills helps teams identify where cross-skilling can add the most value. This involves inventorying current depth and adjacency across members to reveal both strengths and gaps. For instance, mapping might show that while multiple people have coding depth, few possess testing or security skills. This insight guides targeted development, ensuring that learning efforts address real needs rather than scattering attention randomly. Skill mapping also makes progress visible, as teams can track how individuals expand their T-shaped capabilities over time. It highlights opportunities for pairing, mentoring, and focused rotations that spread knowledge strategically. By making the current state explicit, organizations avoid assumptions about who knows what and prevent surprises when critical coverage is missing. Skills baseline mapping thus provides a foundation for deliberate, evidence-based cross-skilling that builds the breadth most aligned with system health and delivery goals. Cross-skilling goals work best when tied directly to product needs. Instead of generic training, learning plans are anchored to upcoming features, reliability work, or compliance requirements. This ensures that breadth builds where it matters most. For example, if a new release demands stronger performance testing, cross-skilling efforts can target that area so multiple people can contribute effectively. By aligning goals to actual delivery challenges, organizations avoid wasting effort on skills that do not impact outcomes. It also keeps learning relevant and motivating, since individuals see how their development contributes to real progress. Tying goals to product needs creates a virtuous cycle. Delivery pressures highlight skill gaps, targeted cross-skilling fills those gaps, and improved capability strengthens future delivery. This outcome-driven approach ensures that cross-skilling is not just a nice-to-have initiative, but a practical tool for sustaining flow, quality, and resilience. Pairing and mobbing turn cross-skilling from theory into lived experience. Instead of relying on abstract training, individuals learn adjacent skills by working alongside experts on real tasks. In pairing, two people collaborate closely, while in mobbing, the whole team tackles a problem together, rotating roles. These practices make tacit knowledge visible, allowing novices to absorb techniques, patterns, and judgment that would be difficult to capture in documentation. For example, a tester pairing with a developer during code changes not only learns syntax but also gains insight into design decisions and trade-offs. Mobbing sessions further accelerate knowledge spread, exposing everyone to multiple perspectives at once. The shared nature of this work normalizes learning as part of delivery, not something separate. By embedding cross-skilling into everyday collaboration, organizations ensure that growth is continuous, contextual, and immediately useful. Code review and artifact review practices also contribute to shared understanding across roles. Reviews provide structured opportunities for people to see how others approach their craft, ask questions, and align on standards. For example, a developer reviewing test cases can learn about quality heuristics, while a tester reviewing code can see how design choices affect testability. Reviews institutionalize cross-skilling by making exposure to different domains routine. They also enforce consistency, as styles and patterns are discussed openly rather than evolving in isolation. Over time, review practices not only catch defects, but also build collective knowledge, reducing reliance on individual expertise. This creates a culture where learning and quality assurance go hand in hand. By treating reviews as teaching as well as checking, organizations create another channel where cross-skilling deepens breadth without sacrificing rigor or excellence. A knowledge gradient design helps individuals progress from novice to contributor to reviewer in new domains. Instead of leaving development unstructured, teams map clear stages of skill growth. At the novice level, a person might observe or assist in a limited role. As they gain competence, they contribute under supervision, eventually advancing to independent work, and finally to reviewing others. Making this gradient explicit provides motivation and clarity. Individuals can see their progress and understand what is expected to reach the next level. For example, a developer cross-skilling in operations might first shadow deployments, then run them with supervision, and eventually lead them independently. This structure ensures that learning is neither rushed nor aimless, giving people confidence in their expanding role. Knowledge gradients also make cross-skilling scalable, as they provide a repeatable framework for developing breadth across the organization. Cross-functional breadth is not limited to primary delivery disciplines but must include non-functional areas such as security, quality, and operability. These areas are often invisible until something goes wrong, yet they are critical to sustaining value after release. Cross-skilling in these dimensions ensures that everyone contributes to defining and meeting non-functional requirements. For example, developers who understand security basics can write safer code, reducing the burden on security specialists. Testers who grasp operability concerns can design better scenarios for reliability. By embedding awareness of non-functional areas across roles, teams raise their collective standard of done. This prevents shortcuts that create long-term liabilities and ensures that sustainability is baked into the process. Cross-functional breadth reinforces the principle that delivering features is not enough. Those features must also be secure, reliable, and maintainable, a responsibility that the whole team shares. Leadership sponsorship makes or breaks cross-skilling initiatives. Without explicit support, learning is often squeezed out by urgent delivery demands. Leaders must provide time, tools, and recognition for breadth-building efforts. For instance, allocating capacity for rotations or pairing sessions signals that cross-skilling is valued, not optional. Providing resources such as sandbox environments or training budgets reduces friction for learners. Recognition reinforces the cultural importance of breadth, celebrating those who teach, pair, and contribute outside their core specialty. Leadership also sets the tone for psychological safety, encouraging risk-taking in learning and showing patience with early mistakes. When leaders model curiosity and growth, teams feel permission to expand their horizons. Sponsorship ensures that cross-skilling is not a side project but an integrated, supported part of delivery. By championing breadth, leaders create the conditions where generalizing specialists can thrive and where adaptability becomes an enduring strength. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. A structured program for cross-skilling turns the concept into a repeatable practice. Instead of leaving growth to chance, teams build a learning backlog that sequences experiences, such as rotations, shadowing, and targeted tasks. This backlog functions much like a delivery backlog, but the items represent opportunities for skill expansion rather than product features. For example, a tester might rotate into a sprint focused on deployment, or a developer might shadow an incident response shift. By sequencing these experiences thoughtfully, organizations ensure that knowledge compounds into usable breadth rather than remaining scattered. The program structure makes learning visible and intentional, preventing it from being squeezed out by urgent work. It also allows leaders to track progress, identify gaps, and allocate resources. A deliberate program sends the signal that cross-skilling is not an afterthought but a strategic investment in team resilience and adaptability. Deliberate practice amplifies this program by focusing on scoped, feedback-rich exercises. Instead of overwhelming learners with large, high-stakes tasks, teams provide opportunities to practice safely within defined boundaries. For instance, a developer new to testing might start with writing unit tests for a small module, receiving feedback from an experienced tester. Similarly, an operations novice might participate in a simulated on-call scenario with a mentor by their side. These exercises are designed to stretch skills without jeopardizing delivery quality. Feedback loops are critical, as they ensure that mistakes become opportunities for learning rather than sources of frustration. Over time, deliberate practice transforms raw exposure into genuine competence, accelerating the transition from novice to contributor. The discipline of deliberate practice acknowledges that skill growth is not automatic. It requires structured effort, guidance, and repetition, just like mastering a musical instrument or athletic technique. Quality guardrails protect standards, while learners expand into new domains. Without them, cross-skilling risks diluting excellence, as novices contribute outside their expertise. Guardrails include a strong definition of done, automated test coverage, and senior reviews. These mechanisms ensure that experiments in breadth do not compromise reliability. For example, if a cross-trained developer writes infrastructure code, automated checks validate basic standards while an experienced reviewer provides contextual guidance. Over time, the learner gains confidence while the system remains protected. Guardrails also encourage learners to stretch, since they know mistakes will be caught safely. This balance of exploration and protection makes cross-skilling both effective and sustainable. It communicates that breadth is encouraged but never at the cost of quality. By embedding quality assurance into the learning process, organizations ensure that new skills add value without creating unnecessary risk or rework. Progressive authorization models expand responsibility as proficiency grows. At the outset, learners may work only in pairing mode, observing and assisting experts. As they demonstrate competence, they take on supervised tasks, gradually moving toward independent ownership. Eventually, they may be trusted to review others, work in their new domain. This progression mirrors how professions like medicine or aviation train novices. Starting with observation, moving to supervised practice, and culminating in independent authority. By making this progression explicit, organizations create clarity and safety. Learners understand what milestones they must achieve, while stakeholders maintain confidence that responsibilities are only expanded when readiness is proven. Progressive authorization keeps cross-skilling motivating, as individuals can see their trajectory of increasing trust and responsibility. It also ensures that the system remains reliable, since authority is tied to demonstrated competence rather than informal assumptions. Role mobility policies keep breadth fresh by rotating responsibilities. Without deliberate mobility, teams risk re-siloing, where individuals fall back into comfort zones and knowledge fades. Policies that rotate tasks, such as backlog refinement, deployments, or on-call shifts, ensure that cross-skilling persists. For instance, assigning different people to lead retrospectives or manage releases spreads process knowledge alongside technical skills. This variety strengthens empathy, as everyone experiences the challenges of neighboring roles. Role mobility also guards against stagnation, ensuring that breadth remains an ongoing practice rather than a one-time initiative. While rotations must be balanced against efficiency, the long-term payoff is a resilient team where no role becomes a fragile bottleneck. Mobility keeps learning active, prevents skill decay, and reinforces the cultural expectation that adaptability is a shared responsibility across the organization. Measurement is essential to validate whether cross-skilling improves system health. Useful indicators include Q aging at constrained skills, bus factor, cross-review rates, and escaped defect counts. For example, if Q aging declines after cross-skilling, it suggests that bottlenecks are being relieved. Tracking the bus factor shows whether more people can cover critical areas, reducing fragility. Cross-review rates indicate how often people engage in reviewing outside their core expertise, a proxy for breadth in action. Escaped defects provide feedback on whether quality is being maintained as breadth grows. These metrics ensure that cross-skilling is not just activity, but impact. They highlight whether breadth is genuinely improving flow, resilience, and quality, or whether adjustments are needed. Measurement turns cross-skilling from a feel-good initiative into an evidence-based strategy, giving leaders confidence that investment in generalizing specialists is paying off in tangible outcomes. Incentives and recognition systems reinforce cross-skilling behaviors. When organizations reward only narrow delivery output, people naturally deprioritize learning. By recognizing pairing hours, teaching contributions, and cross-domain involvement, leaders signal that breadth is valued alongside depth. For example, a tester who invests time mentoring developers in quality practices should be celebrated, not penalized for lost delivery time. Recognition can take many forms, from formal awards to public appreciation during team reviews. Incentives may include career advancement pathways that explicitly account for breadth. These mechanisms shift cultural norms, making teaching and learning visible achievements rather than hidden labor. By aligning recognition with desired behaviors, organizations accelerate adoption and sustain motivation. Ultimately, incentives communicate that cross-skilling is not optional or extracurricular but integral to how the team creates value and builds resilience. Career frameworks provide the long-term scaffolding for cross-skilling. These frameworks describe expectations for both depth and breadth at different levels of seniority. For instance, a mid-level role might require competence in one deep skill and contribution in at least one adjacent area, while a senior role might include reviewing across multiple domains. This structure makes growth paths transparent and fair. It also ensures that career advancement does not force people into management if their passion lies in technical breadth. By codifying cross-skilling into career frameworks, organizations institutionalize its value, preventing it from being dismissed as peripheral. The framework balances recognition for deep specialists and generalizing specialists, making it clear that both profiles are valid and respected. Over time, this clarity builds confidence that developing breadth is a legitimate and rewarded way to advance, not a distraction from one's real career. Remote cross-skilling practices adapt these principles for distributed environments. Shared online sessions, recorded walkthroughs, and collaborative editing tools enable learning across distance. For example, a remote code walkthrough can be recorded and shared, allowing team members in different time zones to learn asynchronously. Collaborative editors and pair programming platforms replicate the immediacy of co-located pairing, while chat-based retrospectives ensure everyone has a voice. Remote practices also leave durable artifacts, which can be revisited for reinforcement or onboarding. By embracing digital tools, organizations ensure that location does not limit participation in cross-skilling. These practices are particularly valuable in global teams, where diverse contexts enrich learning. Remote adaptation reinforces inclusivity and ensures that breadth building is accessible to everyone, regardless of geography. In doing so, it extends the reach and sustainability of cross-skilling in modern, distributed organizations. Enablement platforms lower the friction of practicing new skills. Self-service environments, sandboxes, and golden paths allow learners to experiment safely without jeopardizing production systems. For example, a sandbox environment might let a novice practice deployment commands repeatedly until they gain fluency. Golden paths predefined workflows with guardrails guide learners through complex tasks in a structured way, reducing errors and frustration. These platforms democratize access to learning, ensuring that skill growth is not limited to those with privileged access or informal opportunities. They also accelerate repetition, since learners can practice at their own pace. By investing in enablement infrastructure, organizations make cross-skilling scalable and safe. This approach communicates that learning is not just encouraged but actively supported, transforming curiosity into competence through practical, hands-on experience in low-risk settings. Compliance and duty separation alignment is vital for trust in cross-skilling programs. Certain tasks, such as code approval or audit sign-off, may require independent checks that cannot be performed by the same person who created the work. Cross-skilling must respect these constraints while still enabling broad learning. For example, a developer may practice writing security tests but still require independent review from a security specialist until proficiency and trust are established. Clear policies clarify which tasks can be practiced and which require separation of duties. This alignment prevents conflicts of interest and maintains compliance while expanding capability. By addressing these boundaries explicitly, organizations sustain trust with regulators, auditors, and stakeholders. It also prevents cross-skilling from inadvertently weakening safeguards, ensuring that resilience grows without compromising integrity or accountability. Anti-patterns can derail cross-skilling if left unchecked. Common traps include hoarding expertise, where individuals resist sharing knowledge to maintain status; superficial rotations, where people shadow without gaining real responsibility; and gatekeeping reviews, where experts block contributions from newcomers. These patterns undermine trust and stifle growth. Remedies include transparency, making skill baselines, and progress visible and explicit coaching that frames teaching as a valued responsibility. Pairing reluctant experts with recognition for their mentoring contributions helps shift attitudes. Avoiding anti-patterns requires cultural vigilance, ensuring that cross-skilling is genuine rather than symbolic. By naming and addressing these risks, organizations keep programs authentic and effective, sustaining the momentum needed for long-term success. Sustainability practices balance the tension between learning and delivery. If teams attempt to expand breadth while maintaining full throughput, burnout is inevitable. Sustainable cross-skilling requires reserving capacity for learning, pacing growth, and monitoring energy levels. For example, Dedicating a small percentage of each sprint to cross-skilling ensures steady progress without overwhelming individuals. Leaders must model balance by protecting learning time and discouraging overextension. Sustainability also means acknowledging that not every skill can be learned at once. Focus and prioritization are key. By building learning into the rhythm of delivery, organizations protect both performance and well-being. The result is a culture where cross-skilling strengthens teams over time rather than exhausting them in the short term. Outcome focus is the final measure of whether cross-skilling delivers value. The purpose is not simply to broaden resumes, but to shorten wait times, improve reliability, and increase engagement. Tracking these outcomes confirms that cross-skilling serves delivery goals rather than becoming a detached exercise. For example, if cross-skilling reduces handoff delays, the effect should be visible in faster cycle times. If reliability improves because more people can handle incidents, metrics should reflect fewer escalations. Engagement surveys may show increased satisfaction as people feel they are growing and contributing in new ways. By linking breadth to outcomes, organizations reinforce its relevance and justify continued investment. Cross-skilling becomes not just a cultural aspiration but a practical mechanism for delivering better results. Cross-skilling synthesis emphasizes intentional breadth, supported by guardrails and recognition, as a way to strengthen flexibility without losing deep expertise. By defining generalizing specialists, building structured programs, and embedding practices like pairing, reviews, and role mobility, organizations turn cross-skilling into a durable advantage. Quality is preserved through guardrails and progressive authorization, while sustainability ensures growth does not exhaust delivery capacity. Leaders reinforce the effort with sponsorship, career frameworks, and recognition systems, signaling that breadth and depth are both valued. The result is a resilient, adaptable team that avoids single points of failure, empathizes across disciplines, and delivers higher quality outcomes together. Cross-skilling is not about diluting mastery. It is about weaving individual strengths into collective capability, creating teams that can flex with changing priorities while sustaining trust, quality, and long-term value. Thanks for tuning in to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, your trusted source for cybersecurity news and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.